Hey everybody, it's Bill from BillNetherlands.com. I'm going to be looking at one of the most fun packs that Soundtrack Loops has sent me yet. This is the Force Bundle. It's exactly what you think. It is a Star Adventure in a box, if you will. Please don't sue me, Disney. And we're going to dive right in and take a look at whatever goofy thing I came up with to go with this. Once again, I have relied upon the miracle of archive.org to dig up a truly public domain disaster piece from the 1970s. And I've taken just a clip that I thought would make a good clip to score, and I've set it to music. So let's take a look.
Security satellite coming within range. Insert code tape to neutralize defensive reaction.
John, don't be stupid. I'll kill you all, one by one, until one of you inserts that tape. Stop fighting or I'll kill him.
Why did you kill her?
Don't worry, I didn't kill her. She's just stunned.
Thank you, Julie. If it hadn't been for Kuba, Lois's plan might have worked.
Okay, so that's the mix. Pretty fun, right? I mean, you know. Kind of a mix of modern scoring techniques, but also a lot of old school 70s throwback stuff, just because this clip it's magic. It's just ridiculous 70s fun. But I did want to make it have some gravitas in parts, as much as I could do that. But let's take a look at what I did. Okay, so from the beginning here, we start with some strings. Now you're also going to notice there's an effect here, sound effect called Spy Droid. That's just doing this. I did that to give it some atmosphere because, you know, in a real film you'd have sound effects, you'd have atmosphere, and we don't really have that. So I was like, well, if I can give it something to kind of fill out the space, make it not feel dead when there weren't other instruments there, I figured that would help do that. So from the top, high bowed strings. So here, the laser sound is included in the bundle. Also, the falling sound they have there. Now, the vocal is from the movie. I mixed in, you can see actually, it's this track and this track. I saved some of the audio from the movie, and I actually used it just because I felt like there were parts where it would benefit from having vocals, and if there wasn't music under it, it was fine. I was just more worried if there was music, would that be a problem? But it turned out pretty good, I think. So let's look at the strings real quick. The string section and brass, pretty simple. These three up here. What I would do after this is organize everything into like string section, brass, bass, all that stuff. Normally I kind of do it while I go, but with this I wasn't that familiar with the samples, so it's a lot different for me than like putting in, you know, if I know I'm going to make a bass line with a Moog plugin from Arturia or something, I'll throw that on a track and that'll be with the basses. But with this I was kind of just trying to see what was even in the sample pack, which you can see I have open over here. It's these four right here. So you can see, got them loaded up. Got our one shots, our loops. all that stuff. So you see, I start with the high strings, bring in some bowed strings here. Just really staccato bowed strings. And under that is a low brass layer. We want it to sound ominous, but I also felt like this isn't the height of the action. It's people are kind of, it looks like there's security guards running around quietly, and they're kind of trying to like just monitor what's going on in the area, and then these robots, question mark, start shooting them. And from there I build into the faster section. So let's look at that real quick. So leading into that, I've got a nice glissando right here. And you can see I kind of cut it off. The reason why I did that is when it cuts abruptly like that, you can really feel the beat coming in the next section. When I had it kind of taper off, it sounded too soft. I felt like it needed to be a more abrupt transition with the opening of that door. So there's obviously a lot of stuff going on here. First of all, there's the sound effects that I put in just to kind of give it a little more life. Since we don't have audio tracks, we don't have sound effects. Let's look at that real quick. Laser sound effects. Up here, let's just make sure there's nothing above there. There's a timpani coming in. Super subtle, but it's layered with the other things going on to create an impact. Then there's the double bass. Piano one shot. It's a sustained note. It's just a very low note that kind of, again, hits that initial impact of the door opening. Next, got a lot of cymbals in here. You know, moving forward with this, I would probably separate those two different sounds just because it's easier to EQ them if they're on separate layers. In this case, I was working quickly, and I think it works, but I would definitely probably separate these moving forward for the mix down and really try to dial in like where those hit in the frequency spectrum. Next, just kind of some droids falling over sounds. I wanted to make something to kind of communicate that people were falling over, and I figured I think these are droids, so we're just going to go with that. But these sound effects kind of indicate them falling over when they get hit. I'm a real sucker for just random synth noises when robots do things in the 70s, and yeah, this definitely fulfills that. Now, deep down, this is something I made actually using one of the samples, the SLGG bass guitar number 7, 80 BPM, key of D. And what I did was I just dropped it into a simpler and then brought the tail way back here and just played it back on the keyboard. Literally just repeated D and then C. Now, you might ask, this is in the key of D. Why am I playing the note D as my first note? Well, if you go to simpler, notice that I've transposed it down -2 half steps. And that puts us at C. So then when I play D up here, it literally is the note of D. The sample is tuned to C. So that's why the notes are in D. And that just sounds like this. Add stuff back in. Now there's some other cymbal stuff going on in here. There's a roll coming in. Happens over here again. I use it here because she's kind of running in, the camera's moving, so we have a kind of a ramp up to her pointing the gun at him, and I wanted the cymbal to hit right when the gun is like sticking in his face. So watch that. Maybe a little too much for some movies, but this is a ridiculous 1970s sci-fi film. Like, I just went for it, you know? And this is a case where you can go for it. It's like scoring Austin Powers or something. Like, you really can't go too big. So we got two things going on from the sample bundle below here. It's a marching band snare drum and kind of a synth kick. And then you can see how those work with the bass line that I dropped in. Just really creates a driving force beneath everything. But then on top of that, we have some melodies that we've added that are on a totally different rhythm pattern that create kind of a leitmotif for, I guess, the heroes in the video. And just so the French horn's not alone, but we still have that driving rhythm, I have some horns underneath it that are staccato. Now, it's kind of a general opinion of people that synthesized horns or sampled horns don't sound that great. And that's usually pretty true, but a little bit of reverb helps. Stacking them the right way, layering things the right way, and kind of fading them either to the left or right, panning to the left or right, or fading them into the background does help kind of sell them a little bit more. I think French horn, using sustained notes with a French horn is always really good for this type of thing. I've had success layering that in before where it does sound good with a French horn. The staccato horns, I'm mixed about how I think they sound right now. I could probably EQ them and play with them a little bit more to get them to sound a little bit more solid, but I think it fits the style really, really well. And this pack has so much other stuff that I didn't even use. So, I mean, that's just one piece in the puzzle, but I think you can really get the stuff sounding good if you layer it correctly, mix it correctly, and play with EQ and effects. You may have also noticed some other droid behavior sounds down here. It's just to kind of indicate some kind of personality to these droids, since we don't, again, have dialogue or effects. Or we have a little bit of dialogue. There's some of that coming up. But let's move forward. So what happened here? A few things going on. Timpani drum roll. I talked about the cymbal earlier, but let's see what happens when we layer these two together. Pretty effective, right? And then from there, everything else is kind of fading out.
Security satellite coming within range. Insert code tape to neutralize defensive.
So that audio is from the original movie. I pulled that out to kind of use in this piece. But there's some other stuff going on. Some just computer sound.
Insert code tape to
Just kind of a classic trope of like old sci-fi is just using a synthesizer, using like an ARP or something to create a nice little, I guess, sting or impact when the computer cuts in.
coming within range. Insert code tape to neutralize defensive reaction.
I don't know, it's fun. This whole thing is fun.
Insert code tape to
This is just kind of like a It could be telemetry. It could be the computer receiving a message.
Insert code tape 2.
But mixed together, they all create kind of one soundscape. And that's the idea, is you're layering things to kind of create the sound of the computer.
Insert code tape to neutralize defensive reaction.
John, don't.
Now here at 32, you'll notice there's a tempo change. Key change. But there is a tempo change. If you go to the master channel here, I can kind of show you what we have going on there. Oh, we want to make sure that automation mode's on. There we go. So you can see what I did here is I took the tempo down from 120 to 80. A lot of the clips I ended up using are 80 BPM, which is indicated by the number here next to the key, which is D. So I wanted to change the mood and the vibe, but I wanted to keep some of the very strong sounds that I was using. Like the French horn was 100 BPM, I believe, in D. Some of the other ones are 80, like the synth bass. So I wanted to take those slower sounds and create more of an ominous continuation of the previous action, if that makes sense. Let's see what that looks like when it transitions.
To neutralize defensive reaction.
John, don't be stupid. I'll kill you all, one by one, until one of you inserts that tape. Stop fighting or I'll kill him.
So something there that only appears at this point in the mix is this synth bass sound. I like it because it's ominous. It's building tension. This guy looks like he's probably going to be in a lot of trouble if things don't change for him. So I wanted to kind of communicate that with something a little more sinister. Let's pull out.
Stop fighting or I'll kill him. Stop fighting or I'll kill him. Stop fighting or I'll kill him.
And actually, is her audio on?
Stop fighting or I'll kill him.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. It's hard to sync this up sometimes because the audio is dubbed in from Italian to English, so there's like little places where it doesn't quite line up, so you're trying to like match to the action versus the actual dialogue.
Stop fighting or I'll kill him.
So what happens there is it goes back to the motion previously.
Fighting or I'll kill him.
But you'll notice I pulled out some of the other elements, so it's not quite as heightened, but it is still having that driving rhythm behind it.
Why did you kill her?
Now here's another key change, or I guess another tempo change, key change, whatever you want to call it, that I've inserted here. And when you insert a tempo change or a key change, it's going to create a new, it's going to take you back to like the beginning of a bar or beat. This is super useful for film composing when there's like a change in mood or a change in scene, or if something just happens that completely shifts the narrative. You want to be able to quickly go to a completely different idea, or maybe push the idea you're working on in a different direction. Making a time signature change or tempo change allows you to do that because it sets you at a new bar, which you can see here at 39. And here I'm taking the tempo back up to 120, which is the speed of the E key samples within the bundle. So I wanted to make sure that I could use those because they have a more heroic kind of emotional arc in the melodies that they use and the rhythms they use. So I wanted to go back into that and explore that. But I also stripped back a lot of the stuff that, you know, would make it more trailery, more just high energy. And I really kind of brought it down to its essentials because we have kind of a very, it's an emotional scene as far as that goes with this movie. It's about as emotional as this movie gets. And you can see how it kind of changes the direction of the scene just by the way that the pads and the strings come in.
Why did you kill her?
Don't worry, I didn't kill her. She's just
no.
stunned.
Thank you, Julie. If it hadn't been for Kuba, Lewis's plan might have worked.
Aww. Yeah, so I totally switch vibe at the end here. It goes from this very actiony, very like complicated dense piece to piano with ambient reverb, ambient sound effects, low strings that have some reverb on them, and then an ambient pad.
Don't worry, I didn't kill her. She's just stunned.
Thank you, Julie. If it hadn't been for Kuba, Lois's plan might have worked.
And these are all in the bundle. Let me play them back real quick. So here's the ambient pad. It's kind of an ambient motion effect.
Thank you, Julie.
The ambient pad in the key of E. Acoustic bowed strings. And then up top we have the piano. That was so much fun. I had a blast doing that. And you know, if you want to try it out, if you don't want to just dive in and get the whole bundle, I'm actually including every sample I used in this video down below in the link. So go down below in the YouTube video, just click the link and you can download these samples. I had a blast. It's the Force Bundle from Soundtrack Loops, and as they say, may the 4th be with you. I'll see y'all soon. Take care.